From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome into the Wow Report on Radio Andy. So glad you're joining us here on Friday, May 12th. It's Tom Campbell filling in for our fearless leader, Fenton Bailey. I'm here with club kid turned best-selling author, editor of the Wow Report, James St. James.
You got it right. I was worried.
And that's not a script. That was from memory. And now, of course, Blake Jacobs, who's our incredible producer who often pops on the screen, will be joining us for the entire show. So I know there's a lot of Blake fans out there, so don't go anywhere.
I think Fenton is actually tied up in a broom closet somewhere because Blake has been trying to get this spot for a long time.
It's very, very true. Well, each week we do the public service of counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. So let's jump right into it. Number 10.
Number 10.
Oh, that's me. Believe it or not, I'm going to talk about things related to drag because it's a drag world this Friday, this week. First of all, if you are listening to us, maybe you're driving to the LA Convention Center where RuPaul's DragCon is happening today, Friday the 12th, and tomorrow, Saturday the 13th. Mother's Day, spend it with your mother. Don't come to the convention center. It's being rumored to be the biggest DragCon yet. I don't know if that's hype or it's truth, but either way, I'll enjoy it very much. Also on this very day is the premiere of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 8, and it's going to be bonkers. I was there when it was shot, and they released. You know how the network releases like the first 10 minutes during the middle of the week. So we've gotten a little bit of feedback already, and people love this cast because it comes from everywhere. And I want to list their names: Alexis Michelle, back; Darian Lake, take a deep dip into; Heidi N. Closet; James Mansfield, who like blew up in the Christmas movie; Jessica Wilde has the shadiest, funniest read at the very beginning. You don't want to miss it, of the first episode. Jimbo from Canada and UK versus the World is there. His entrance look has already blown up the internet because he's very plus size Zoftic and he's wearing a teeny tiny micro bikini. Is it misogyny? Is it drag? Can it be both? And then
the best part about the entire look is the sandals.
Exactly. It's done with such it's so funny. It's so silly. Kahana Matrice from RuPaul's Drag Race Live is back and more pumped than ever. She'll admit it. Candy Muse, everyone's favorite, La La Ree Experience will be back. Monica Beverly Hills. Remember Monica Beverly Hills? Mm-hmm. Incredible queen. Came out on the main stage as a trans woman, is back in her full glory. Love to have her back.
Season 5.
Mrs. Kasha Davis. What?
Season 5.
You might be right. Mrs. Kasha Davis is who always used to say, and now it's time for a cocktail. She's sober now, so we'll see how that goes. It goes well, don't worry. And last but not least, Naysha Lopez, the gorgeous Naysha Lopez is back. And we have crazy judges like Adina Menzel, Maud Apatow, Bowen Yang, Matt Rogers, Ego Wodim, all from Saturday Night Live, Adam Shankman, Jojo Siwa. I mean, it's bonkers. The combination of people and queens and events leads to lots of drama, lots of fun, everything I love about drag race. And not under the World of Wonder watch, but made a huge impact on the internet, in my feed anyway, is there's a new show on Hulu called Drag Me to Dinner that Neil Patrick Harris and his husband have produced that has Bianca Del Rio and Murray Hill as judges. It looks like sort of a send-up of a food competition show. I won't know until it comes out and we watch it. But it's got a drag race queens and other legendary queens. But it looks like a blast. I mean, just to see those queens. Anytime our queens get airtime, I feel good. Are you guys watching? Are you guys looking forward? Are you taking a sabbatical from drag? What's going on?
I'm definitely going to be watching. I'm happy that it's on Paramount Plus and not MTV, only because I cut the cord and it's easier for me to watch it on Paramount Plus.
See, now I'm just the opposite because I can't afford Paramount Plus. I don't have Paramount Plus. I have too many streaming things that I'm paying $10 here, $5 there, $10 there, and it's just gotten too much. So I can't watch it. I'm a little upset.
James, I shouldn't say this out loud, but you know some people that might be able to drop you some links.
Well, they say that with WoW Presents Plus. With this James, you're on WoW Presents Plus. We'll give you a subscription, and I never get the subscription. Always ends after 3 days or something. I don't even have WoW Presents Plus. World of Wonder won't even give me WoW Presents Plus. So I don't know why I think they're going to give me Paramount.
But anyway, I just wanted it's a big day for us. We're all headed down to the convention center. James, I know you we're pre-taping this a little bit.
That boy, I am stressed because
are you having a booth?
I only have an hour at the WoW Presents Plus booth both days, but to just organizing that is beyond my ken at this point. I don't even know how to get an outfit together. I don't know how to get everything down there to get my badges. I'm just lost. I'm just a dizzy queen this week.
Do you blame it on COVID? Do you blame it on the shutdown and the close
It's
down?
the long COVID. The long COVID is denying me my ability to make money at DragCon.
He's lost his taste and his ability to accessorize. It's quite shocking.
That's exactly it. Yes.
I'm putting you in the spot, but do you know the times you will be?
Yes. Booth? Actually, I'm there from 11 to noon both days, and maybe a little bit earlier on Friday because there's the Walk of the Queens, and so I might be able to sell some things during that as well.
Will you be up all night? Because that's kind of early for you.
Right. Tell me about it. I have been trying to get into wake up at 8 o'clock this morning, wake up at 7 o'clock, because I have to start getting ready. I don't even know.
You got to throw some paint on the barn.
Something about painting a barn door. Were you making some crack, Blake? Is that what you were doing?
You got to throw some paint on the barn.
All right. Okay. So Tom, your question, now's your turn to be nasty.
Are you interviewing our fearless leader Fenton Bailey about his book Screen Age?
Girl, that's the other thing. I've had to reread the book and come up with questions.
Wait a minute. Rereading assumes you read it before.
Well, I looked up the pages that had my name on it is what I did.
Well, now it's also available as an audiobook through Audible, so you can listen to it.
Well, I'm skimming it right. As soon as we finish, I'm going to skim it for a little bit and try and come up with 10 good questions.
I'm just going to say that in addition to Fenton's book at the convention, you can get a pre-copy of a new book, an oral history of the first 10 years of Drag Race by the queens, by executives, by some fans. And it's called And Don't Fuck It Up. And I'm in that book a lot. And there is also going to be an oral book with an oral audio version with the fabulous Alec Mappa narrates. And I asked him whenever he speaks my name to speak in a thick German accent. So we'll see if he does or not. So now we have another book that we can shamelessly plug for a year or so. All right. Well, it's a drag world. All Stars 8, Paramount Plus, RuPaul's DragCon LA Convention Center. Have fun. It takes a village. Let's move on to number 9, James.
Number 9.
Number 9. I'm going to bring it down a little bit because I was probably sadder than I've been in years watching the CNN town hall this week with Donald Trump. It upset me more than I should have let it. It really was. It was Donald Trump being given a platform the day after his the verdict came in on the E. Jean Carroll trial.
Guilty on 9 of 10 counts. Hello.
Sex offender.
So yeah, they gave the sex offender, a platform to spew his lies and nonsense. The audience was supposed to be made up of undecided voters, and it was anything but. They were hardcore MAGA purists who it was a room full of brain Karens and sycophantic proto-Nazis who were hooting and hollering at his every insult, at his every lie, his every goofy face. He made fun of E. Jean Carroll and the sexual abuse charge, and the audience went wild, stood up. The women were whoo, yay, blah, blah. It was depressing in a way that I haven't seen. It was bread and circus. It was like watching the Hunger Games. It was like watching a Salem witch trial.
How do
Caitlyn
you rationalize that if you're CNN? How do you rationalize?
Well, as I mentioned before, John Malone and Chris Licht are both hardcore MAGA Republicans, the people who have taken over CNN, and they are moving it to the right every single day. Caitlin Collins, who did the interview, Caitlin Collins, everyone was saying, oh, she did such a good job. Caitlin Collins got her start at Breitbart. She then went on to the Daily Caller, which was Tucker Carlson's thing. She is a Republican through and through. She didn't push back in ways that she could have. He doubled down on the great lie, the January 6th. He went further, saying that he had the right to the documents at Mar-a-Lago. He doubled down on that. And you got to think that maybe, E. Jean Carroll now has she can sue again,
Right.
and that the Georgia DA, he has his, there were things that Donald dug himself into a bit of a hole with, but for the most part, it was just his audience shouting and cheering for him, which egged him on. Afterwards, not one of the CNN pundits, they all got together. Not one of them said, why did we do this? Why did CNN do this? They were all, they're all towing the line because that's their bread and butter paycheck. So even Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, nobody pushed back on CNN for doing it. It was depressing. It was sad. And it just made me think that we really are in a shitload of trouble if this is where we are as a country, that this is what is.
Well, the last election, I think he lost because people were sick of the chaos. Maybe this will remind sound Americans of the chaos that he creates.
More than that, even, is the fact that we have Zaslav at Warner Brothers, we have, Licht at CNN, we have Musk at Twitter, we have all these right-wing people destroying our institutions from the inside. Yeah. And you can't tell me that it's not a concentrated effort for the right to take over the media and destroy it, which is what is happening. Right. And that is where democracy dies. Trump may just be a blip, but if you destroy the very foundation of our democracy, then anybody else, we have DeSantis in the wings, who doesn't seem to be doing well, but if Trump goes down, then he's the next one going up, So it's just, it's terrifying. It's sad. And it made me it took the wind out of me a little bit last night.
know you think I'm an ostrich burying my head in the sand, but I refuse to watch Night Of because I just didn't want to, not that I'm a Nielsen family, but I just didn't want to give it any.
But that also is a problem, and I've talked to you about that, because if too many people bury their head in the sand, then you have half the country burying their head in the sand and not being aware of what's going on. And it reminds me a little bit of Anne Frank, who said the last thing she wrote in her diary was, deep down, I believe people are basically good. And she was writing that as the Nazis were coming up the stairs to get her. Right. And people are not basically good. People are basically bad.
James, why can't my news source not be CNN, but JSJ, James St. James? I get it from you.
Well, okay. But I want.
I'm not denying it's happening. I'm not angry about it. I just didn't want to give it.
I know, but I want people to get angry about it, and I want people to be plugged in. I do, because I don't want people not.
I am angry about it. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. More on that story, unfortunately, as it continues to unravel. We're on the Wow Report, and we are at number 8.
Number 8.
Well, another bit of sad news. We are losing MTV News, which has been around for 36 years. I grew up on MTV News. I would watch MTV all the time, and you would hear the do. You hear it first. I remember watching the Woodstock 94 coverage. I remember watching Kurt Cobain's suicide. I know that we have a lot of people at World of Wonder who worked or have worked there. Did you guys ever watch MTV News? How do you feel about it?
Well, you knew when you saw Kurt Loder come on that something bad had happened. Like, you knew Kurt Loder was our Walter Cronkite, and he was the most trusted man for our generation. I am very good friends with John Norris. I've been friends with him for all that time. You know, he was a big club person. He was out all the time. He's beloved in the scene, and it's sad. It really is, because what MTV means to my generation and your generation and Tom, that it changed the world, as Fenton writes about in his book. It really did. And it changed the way we perceive media. It changed the way we think of music. It changed the way we think of video. It really was something. And to see what MTV is now, we love MTV for having RuPaul's Drag Race. Make no response. Make no.
No, but it's okay, Boomer. No, but it's a totally different time, and I say it with love. I used to work at MTV. I was there when Kurt Cobain passed away. MTV itself was just such a cultural juggernaut. It was the first time that we all kind of came together, youth, 18 to 24, almost across the country, almost across economic, and we all got what was cool. I used to grow up in New Hampshire. We'd say we get all the trends in the 60s and 70s. 5 years later, they'd finally make it to New Hampshire, and MTV put everybody in the map. We knew exactly what was happening. Music.
We were all Kaja Gugu fans at the same time.
Yes, but that hasn't existed for a long, long time, and I can't blame MTV. Its culture's changed, and youth market now is marketed to differently, and youth are always just like the way we adopted MTV early and furiously. It's TikTok now. It's social media. It's the way that they communicate. Again, probably ways I don't even know about. So it seems somewhat inevitable that MTV News should pass, especially with all this consolidation. But it is, there's loss and there's mourning. I have a fun story. It's MTV News, pretty closely related. But remember they had the Rock the Vote, and they had they had Bill Clinton come on MTV. I was there. I was in the audience when a high school student asked him, everybody wants to know, boxers or briefs? And he said, at least most of the time, because I can't believe she asked me that. And afterwards, I got to go up to him, and I waited in a long line, and I spoke to him. And my brother, David, New Hampshire, big Democrat, big supporter, New Hampshire is the primary state. I said, ask Mr. Clinton or Governor Clinton, I just want you to know that you have Clinton supporters from New Hampshire to California. My brother was, big in your campaign early on. And he goes, what was his name? I said, David Campbell. He goes, that's right. And it was such a beautiful political moment where he did not know my brother. He didn't remember my brother, doesn't know his name. But he said, well, what's your brother's name? And I said, David Campbell. He goes, that's right. And he made me feel in that moment, it took me years later to decipher that sentence, that I was in the hands of a master politician. And I remember I wanted to, and this is terrible, but he had sexy earlobes. I wanted to nuzzle his earlobe as I was waiting. There, I sat.
That's funny.
So
it's something in the water in Arkansas, I think.
That's right. All right. Well, rest in peace, MTV News. And by the way, the other harder news, again, this is a week of bad news, is there have been 25% job eliminations at Paramount and MTV. And that includes a lot of people that we work very closely with. So it's a tough time. It's a time of transition in this town with the writer's strike and with the overspending on streaming. So we wish everybody out there, good fortune, good luck. And got to be friends with people when they're working and when they're not working. It takes a village, et cetera, et cetera. We need to take a little break for a commercial. We are so full of bad news. We don't have time for trivia questions. So when we come back, we'll continue to count down the top 10 things that made us go wow here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
We're back. It's the Wow Report on Radio Andy. I'm Tom Campbell here with James St. James and Blake Jacobs. Benton Bailey's away for the week, but he'll be back. Let's move on as we count down the top 10 things that made us go wow to number 7.
Number 7.
This is my review of the Freevee series, Jury Duty. Have you heard about this?
I watched all of it.
Oh, then you have more to say. It's being sort of billed as a mockumentary series, James, who said nothing. And James Marsden plays himself.
Oh, I love me some James Marsden.
He's kind of the best thing. And what the production put together, a fake jury, a fake trial, a fake judge. They shot it all on location. They convinced the one person who doesn't know it's fake is named Ronald Gladden. He's a really sweet guy, actually. And they cast him out of hundreds of thousands of people. And he goes in thinking he's doing a documentary about his time in jury duty. So it explains the cameras, whatever. But everyone around his peers, the quirky people at lunch, in breaks, overnight, are actors. And James Marsden plays a bloated, like a celebrity himself, who's just bloated and always talking about his own credits. He's kind of the highlight of the whole thing. It reminds me of that old 2000s reality show, Joe Schmo. Do you remember the name?
Oh, yeah.
It was where they had a reality show where all the contestants were fake except for one. And the one was supposed to figure it out. And that was how you won the money if you busted this experiment. So it's kind of like that, but it kind of meanders. You watch the whole thing, Blake, you're so much better than I am. I watched the first episode because I got it. I laughed some. And I watched the last episode where they reveal it all to him. He's the jury like foreman. He goes to give the verdict and the judge says, "This is fake. You've been fake." And he gets to meet everyone in the production booth and all the actors. And again, it's weird. It used to be a big thing to play tricks on people in reality TV. And then it became déclassé and kind of dangerous. And now they're doing it in scripted. But, he was, for better or worse, Ronald, the guy who was the real guy, was sweet and kind and, comes off really well. But I don't know exactly what I wanted to see. Blake, what was your takeaway?
Well, he was really tall and really cute. I like that. And then I loved the girl who was like the slutty girl. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do. There was one of the jurors who was hot for this one like virgin boy, and she was just like outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great exercise for anybody who's an improv actor. They just really chewed up the scenery.
And it could have gone bad, but they didn't do anything like mean to him, No. And everyone talked about during the series, you probably missed this, about how sweet he was and how, they really were friends with him now and didn't want to, so I think it was all in good fun. And I would watch this again, something and like,
it didn't drag me. I just couldn't imagine watching all of them. They, because it's like a documentary. So all the characters, including him and the fake characters, they all do interviews, but they stay in character for the 7 of the episodes. It's not to the last episode is the spell broken. So James, do you ever feel like you're in a reality show and you're the only non-fake person like here on the WoW Report? Like we aren't really radio people
right now. Yeah.
Like you're the only qualified person to be here. Do you ever feel that way?
Right now, baby. Yes.
Like you just sit silently as people just improv and chew the scenery around you, but make no sense.
Watching you two tap dance is just the highlight of my day.
So people were raving about it. I give it a B-, but
I liked it. I liked it, and I also it's cool that Freevee, like it's Freevee.
I was gonna say, do I need to start watching Freevee? Because I know that a couple people I know are on it.
Well, Freevee is Amazon's is one of Amazon's networks, and it used to be called IMDb TV. And the big hits on it are that Jeff Lewis has his old Bravo show is basically on Freevee. And Judge Judy Justice, where she wears the maroon robe and not the black robe and has her hair up in a little bon, that is also on Freevee. And this is the third thing I've heard from Freevee that's sort of catching fire. So I don't want to trash it because I love people taking chances, doing weird stuff. Part of me wanted something bad to happen, and I'm not comfortable with me. I think
maybe you would have liked it if you watched episodes 2 through 7.
How dare
I was gonna say, I don't know how you can say it meanders when you've literally watched 1 and 8.
I watched 2 and 8. 2 and 8. All right, I'm feeling shamed, so we're gonna move on to number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6. I've been watching on Turner Classic Movies. I've been making a point to watch movies that I am pretty sure could never be made in 2023. Movies that in this conservative climate could not just be done. And we talked about Clockwork Orange.
Ode to Billy Joe.
Ode to Billy Joe. Yeah. This week I watched Elizabeth Taylor in Butterfield 8. Tom, you know where I'm going.
Stale.
Elizabeth is at the absolute height of her beauty here, the height of her glamour, the height of her allure. She plays a fashion model.
I've never heard of this movie, so I wanted you to tell us what it was about.
Yeah, okay. She plays a fashion model, and I put that in quotations because she's a hooker. She is a call girl. She is a high-class call girl, and she is her you call Butterfield 8 is how you get a hold of her, and that's that's the extension. That's like you'd be like Haywood 74321. So you call Butterfield 8. Butterfield 8, and she's Tom. You'll have to give me the background on this because there are two men that she's sort of bouncing back and forth between, Lawrence Harvey and Eddie Fisher. And this during the period where she steals Eddie Fisher away in real life from Debbie Reynolds. Is this the movie that it happens?
Yes. She's with Eddie Fisher, so he's kind of there. But I think by the time this movie came out, they were over or almost over. She also won the Oscar for this movie,
but she doesn't deserve the Oscar for this movie is the point, because what happened in real life is Elizabeth Taylor had pneumonia and she had a tracheotomy and she was in the hospital and she wasn't expected to live. And so the Oscars gave her this Oscar to because they thought she was going to die, basically. And so she hated the movie. She
accepts the Oscar in this low-cut dress with her tracheotomy scars straight out. She was no fool. She knew how to play the press. But in fairness, the year before, I think she'd done Cat in the Hot Tin Roof, which was Oscar worthy. Yeah. So it was kind of like the Oscars caught up to her performances. And she did Giant the year before that. So
and I did watch Giant too. I could talk about Giant, but the character's name is Gloria Wondrous, which is a Tennessee Williams name if there was ever a Tennessee Williams. It was a lurid novel from John O'Hara about a New York City prostitute. There's the big scene in the movie, and Tom, maybe you and I can act it out right now, where her mother, played by Mildred Dunnock, who is sort of an old woman, and she's very prim and proper, and her mother knows what's up. Her mother knows, but they don't talk about it. They never talk about it, and they don't sort of acknowledge it to each other. And at the very end of the movie, she comes back to her mother and she says, "Mother, I've found love and I'm changing. I'm not going to be the same person I was." And the mother's like, "I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it." And she grabs her mother and she says, "Face it, Mama, I was the slut of all time." And her mother hits her, and it's just, "I was the slut of all time." It's so
that's why she won the Oscar, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's such good soap. I mean, isn't the first scene she shows up at Eddie Fisher's house, her friend, and she's wearing a fur coat and a slip underneath it because her dress had been torn during rough sex?
The dress had been torn, and then the wife comes home, and so she's hiding, and she doesn't have anything to leave the house, and she's in a slip, so she grabs the wife's fur coat and leaves, and that sets off a chain of events where she's trying to give the coat back, and then it turns into this whole big deal.
And the wife is played by a very beautiful, very blonde, very anti-Elizabeth Taylor, Dina Merrill.
Dina Merrill, who was Barbara Hutton's daughter, was it?
She's real money. She's real
billionaire. The woman who owned Mar-a-Lago. That Dina Merrill grew up in Mar-a-Lago, and she was just a chic woman who became an actress. And she's more of a Park Avenue socialite. She's just so fabulous. If I could be either Elizabeth Taylor or Dina Merrill, I would have been Dina Merrill.
And spoiler alert, because the only reason that movie could be made back then, because of the ethics codes, is that somebody must die in order for the movie to end.
Yes.
And it's a little red sports car. And it's the beginning. I always used to make the joke on soap operas. You'd be driving, and then someone would be like, "Oh!" or before they died, you'd leave your hands off the wheel, and that's Elizabeth Taylor in Butterfield 8. And then look, the camera spins.
You see, it's like literally a little toy, Corvette that goes off a hill, but it's supposed to be Elizabeth, and then the fiery wreck at the very end. We've given the spoiler alert, but yeah.
If anyone's like me, they don't remember anything I say, so
But anyway, Butterfield 8, Elizabeth Taylor, Eddie Fisher, Dina Merrill, Mildred Dunnock.
Again, Elizabeth Taylor during that 10 years that she was exquisitely beautiful.
It doesn't get more beautiful than her, and she's always in sort of pale lilacs, which offset her lilac eyes. She has purple eyes, and it's just absolutely stunning. Every time the camera goes on her, you gasp.
Butterfield 8, find it, watch it. It's worth it.
It's on TCM. It's streaming on TCM.
All right, we are down to number 5.
Number 5.
Very quickly, I hate that Fenton's not here to talk about this, but there's a new king and queen in the UK. King Charles and Camilla. Now, James, you said you watched the Coronation. Can you give us some of the highlights?
I stayed up to watch the Coronation. I started at 1 a.m. and was going. I didn't go to bed till 9 o'clock in the morning. I watched the whole damn thing, and I regret those hours that I gave up of my life when I could have been sleeping, because, dear God, we talk about Charles and Camilla and just what horror shows they are, but he is one of the grumpiest, nastiest men on the planet. I wish Meghan would have been there. I wish she would have been there just to shake things up a little bit. I mean, we had Louis, who was making faces, little Prince Louis, who was sort of the highlight of it. And I'm glad Camilla got her moment in the sun, but they are a nasty couple. They really are.
My favorite meme is the picture of Camilla freshly, crowned, and she's sort of sitting alone, and someone says, "Worst drag brunch ever."
Well, there was a picture of them in newly crowned, standing side by side, and someone on Twitter said, "It looks like they're going to sell us a mattress at their Memorial Day blowout sale."
Yes,
like Mattress King.
And wasn't he Fenton wrote? He's the first king to be crowned in actual pants and not like tights and things of that nature.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I wonder. Everybody wants to know, King Charles, boxers or briefs? I think people want to know. It's hard to get it up for this group of. I'm an ageist. I don't know. It doesn't feel fresh. It doesn't feel exciting. You do feel like Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was going to say as much as you either loved or hate the monarchy, you could not deny that Queen Elizabeth had a charisma and a charm.
Yes, and a kindness and a soul that really came through. And he does not, for whatever reason, or does not.
And we've already seen him. There were some lip readers on hand, and he was bitching about the fact that they were 30 seconds late for something, and he was like, "Yeah, they're late again." And he's just he just seems like a grump, is what he seems like.
And I'm always amazed, and obviously it's ratings, and again, we talk about the media and the distortion, but like how everybody on ABC and CBS and NBC, everybody puts on a fascinator and they go to London and they drink tea and they're just so enchanted with the monarchy, and it's so forced, it's so weird. And what they should be talking about is the talk about an argument for progressiveness, which is like, think of all of the doom and gloom around Charles having, not being able to marry a divorced woman, and Diana being brought in as a victim, and her tragic ending. Like, what? And now they're together, and she's queen and he's king, and like, what was all that about? What was all of that?
And it is weird to see Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Cooper, who should be above this at that point, really just falling in line in being, sucking up to, hoping to get their invitation to the tea.
Because even when I spend some time in the UK for Drag Race, I hear in conversation more both sides of the monarchy. Some people love it and just enjoy it, and other people are really like, it's crap. It's like, why are we doing this? What a waste of money! What a waste of time! And the US, you have no sense of that. You have no sense. It's just fairy tale time. It's the new opening of Guardians of the Galaxy. Woo! We got a royal wedding. Let's get some ratings. All right. On that note, we are
Oh
going
wait,
to take a
Blake,
little
did
break.
you have any thoughts before we hijacked it completely?
Oh, no, I mean, the funniest thing I thought was Trey Spiegel posted on the Wow Report this thing of Allison Jackson. She's a photographer, and she had these two lookalikes go around and take unflattering photos. It's on the Wow Report. It's really funny, but that's it.
Okay.
That's excellent. Well, thank you for that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue to count down the top 10 things that made us go wow here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And we're
Face
back.
it, Mama, I was the slut of all time.
That's a callback.
If I said that once, I said that 100 times to my mother. I would say that on a weekly basis. That and from Mildred Pierce, I would always say, weren't the pies enough, mother? I used to say, oh God, I would drive my mother crazy. Weren't the pies enough, mother? Like, she was so embarrassed of her mom.
In case you couldn't tell, you're listening to James St. James, the Wow Report here on Radio Andy. I'm Tom Campbell. I'm here with Blake Jacobs. And we are, of course, still talking about Butterfield 8, a movie made in 1959 that we talked about last segment.
Spoiler alert, she was the biggest slut of all time.
We could, you know what, for one of our evergreen shows when we go on vacation, why don't we just get James saying that for an hour with commercials? I think that would be great. We have it.
Just James reading old movie dialogue.
Yes, with a disco beat. Okay. It's time to move on, sadly, to number 4.
Number 4.
This might be a reflection of me, but I'm having trouble getting turned on by a lot of television. You guys said, check out that History of Game Show special. So I started to watch it, and it was just, I know too much. It's like, it's not telling me anything I don't know. It's made for 12-year-olds. I didn't watch it. But what I've been doing lately, what's really been bringing me passion and hope, is seeing live theater again. And this past Friday, I left work a little early. I got in the car with my college friend, Rob Ewan, who I never see enough. And we drove to the South Coast Rep to see a friend of his and a mutual friend of ours, Michael Shayan, who happens to be an Iranian Jewish gay guy with a full beard, full-bodied, and he plays his mother in a one-man, one-woman, one-mom show called Alvaz. And his mother fled Iran during the revolution of 79. And reading some stuff about it, he is like, she never talked about the past, and they've had and she was a single mom, and he'd had a lot of feelings about her. So he just started writing this one-man show about her. And he doesn't really perform. He's hilariously funny, and he's a good performer. He's a natural performer. He has like Charles Nelson. He's probably 29 or something. He has Charles Nelson Riley, thick, square black glasses, this black beard. He's just hilarious and funny. And he's dressed in this caftan, and he's all set up for like Iranian New Year's. His mother's name is Roya. He doesn't try to look like her or sound like her. I think he feels like her, like he embodies her, and he talks about how I've captured my mother, and it's every gay man's dream and nightmare to play their mother. And he unfolds this really beautiful. We forget about all the immigrants that come to this country and what they fled, and how and it was a lot about how much she divorced her previous country, and then how much she longed for it. And she was a very imperfect person, very egotistical. But at the same time, she was able to get, getting jobs when you don't know the language, getting fired from jobs when you don't know the language, marrying because you have to, being in a loveless marriage, having a child, hoping you can be a good mother. And then she used to work at a nail palace. He said everything the Iranians do are palaces. It's all like a kebab palace, a nail palace. I mean, it's a hilarious cultural insight into the Iranian world. He also says that Iranians and Iraqis, we get, and the Armenians, we get along. We just don't live next to each other. We're west of Sepulveda. The Armenians are in Glendale. It's just, again, this one fast one-liner after another. So I didn't know much about it going to it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's definitely one of those theater pieces. It was at the South Coast Rep, and it was it had been developed over time at different festivals and different foundations. And thank God for the arts, that still exists, that allow things to be imperfect and impure and weird and zany, because, we don't always get that on TV. We just don't. And so I thought, well, his mother must be passed, because it ends. The culmination is he always is his mother, but at the end, he finally comes in the picture. He's born. He's with his mother. She has all this love for him. And then one day he comes home and he's so angry at her for all, the way you get angry at your parents at a certain age and just blame. And he embodies both of them and has a fight. He and his mother have a fight. And it's really, because most up to that point, it's pretty funny. But boy, it comes to a big conclusion. And the most amazing thing is, I thought, oh, she must have passed away. There's just no way that she could be alive and he could be this frank about her. Who stands up at the end? His mother, Roya. And she's a knockout. She, you think she looks like him with a beard and big glasses. She's blonde. She's snatched. She's wearing a bright red dress. She knows that she'll be standing at the end of the performance. And in the most classy way I can tell you, she had a short in the front, long in the dress, and the back dress that worked 100%. Like she could pull it off. And so then we went out to the South Coast Rep, which is in Orange County. It's a beautiful place. The Secret Center's there, all that. And there's a party, and food and belly dancers and famous Iranian comedians. And it was just a night I won't forget. And again, it was weird and imperfect. It's still playing, so you should go see it while it's there. And it's and the funny thing is, A Small World is, it's directed by, I love his name, Moritz von Stuhlnagel.
Huh.
Who is this really great guy who I met at my friend Rob's, and he's going to, Rob Yulin, he's going to be directing his play in Chicago coming up. He is doing, obviously, Michael's play, and I think Michael introduced him to Rob, but he also directed the Ava Gardner play that I saw in Westwood. So
see, it all comes full circle,
yes.
doesn't it?
And I will also just say quickly that I also saw our very own John Hill from Radio Andy and Wow Liberty was doing his own little one-man show called Wellness Check at the Yard Theater, which is on the east side of town. And it was what's on John's mind. And John is, first of all, I couldn't hear over John's arms, because John, who's always good looking, has now gotten into shape like I've never seen him before. So his arms and forearms and hands are in a t-shirt, and that's really why you should go. But I ran into Michael Call, who we all know and love, and Monet Exchange. And again, it was just a great back and forth and free. It's just great to hear people express themselves in a theater, surrounded by a theater. And my last plug is Hairspray at the Dolby starring Nina West, which I've already praised, is here through May 21st. So make sure you see that. So I encourage, this is really a reminder to me, but I encourage you all to go see live theater, wherever it may be. All right, let's move on to number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3, once again, I've got to bring it down. I'm very sorry. It's Arrest in Perfection. Last night, the wind was knocked out of me a little bit. Just as I was going to sleep, I checked on Twitter, and I saw that Jacklyn Zeman had passed away. Nurse Bobby Spencer for 47 years on General Hospital, an icon in the industry. She started off, she was always a fiery redhead on the show. She had this big red Farrah Fawcett hair in the disco era, lots and lots of makeup and tight little outfits. She was a hooker. She was a bad girl hooker when she came on the show. Just nasty. She was trying to steal Scotty Baldwin away from Laura Weber. And then she became she went into the nursing program. She became a nurse. She became the head nurse and a pillar of the community. And by the 90s, she was just one of the most beloved cast characters on the show. She was a part of some of the most famous storylines in soap opera history. There was her daughter slept with her husband, and that was a big deal. That was one of the huge ones. And the story though that people still talk about, that's up there with Judith Light saying she was a hooker on or Erica Kane standing up to the bear. She had a daughter. She and her husband Tony had a daughter, BJ, Barbara Jean.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
I know you're gonna. I'm gonna cry too. I'm gonna cry. And Felicia in Frisco had a baby named Maxie. And Maxie was born with a congenital heart problem, and she was on death's doorstep. She was in the hospital, and she needed a heart transplant. And Barbara Jean, BJ's school bus, got into an accident, and she was put on life support.
I can't believe I'm really crying.
I am too. And she was brain dead, and Bobby had to make the decision to take her off life support,
Pull the
pull
plug.
the plug, and give her organs up for donation. And unbeknownst to both women, Barbara Jean's heart was implanted into Maxie, and when the two women came together and she ran in to say that Maxie was going to live, she got a heart, and she saw that Maxie was dead, and the two women realized that her heart went to her best friend's daughter, and they fell to the ground in anguish, letting out this sob. And if you show that picture to any housewife from the 90s or any former college student or Tom Campbell or James H. that you literally the tears will start.
I am crying for real because the storytelling that was so beautiful. And there was an image after the heart had been, BJ's heart was put into their daughters, where they would go. I think it was maybe the father, but also they would go to her bed, her hospital bed, and they put their ear to her chest
and listen to their daughter's heart. Oh God! And still to this day, Maxie is now a grown woman with children of her own. But when there was just a scene a couple weeks ago where Bobby was saying, I hear my daughter heart in you, and like they still talk about it to this day, and it is still one of the great moments of soap opera history. And she didn't win an Oscar for it. Jacklyn Zeman did. I mean, she did not win an Emmy for it, but she was nominated. She never won an Emmy. She was nominated many, many times, but she is one of the greats of soap opera land.
I worked at ABC Daytime. I was able to meet her on a couple of occasions. And by all accounts of people I know very well, who knew her very well, and my own personal account, she was a lovely, bright, sunshiny woman who had so much love and care.
A ball of energy, a ball of happiness. And whenever she came on screen, you were like, it's Bobby. You were so happy to see her. She would be gone for years at a time, and they would bring her out for, Thanksgivings and stuff. She died after a very short illness. She was diagnosed with cancer, apparently just a couple months ago, I think.
Someone said she's been on screen recently.
Yeah, in fact, one of the last times she was on screen, I think they knew because it was the Nurses Ball, and they did a tribute to Nurse Bobby Spencer, and they showed clip after clip after clip, and so I think they were giving her flowers.
Well, I want to see how they handle it in the show, and I want to watch it. James, thank you for taking me through that. I literally was crying. I'm not joking, and I couldn't quite understand, or I was surprised by the fact because it came up in my news feed. I texted you briefly, and it's like it's amazing how certain people, you don't know how they're intertwined with your emotional nervous system. And she was, and I mourn her death, and I will, I even haven't watched her for years. It's, and you just sort of unpacked it with that scene, and she was a naughty girl too. But anyway,
because I've watched General Hospital my whole life. I don't ever remember a time I wasn't watching it. So she has been a part of my life forever, and it feels like I lost a family.
Jacklyn Zeman, Bobby,
Jackie, only 70 years old, very young.
Rest in peace, rest in perfection. Let's move on, Blake, to number 2.
Number 2.
Very quickly, have you guys heard who Tom Cruise is possibly pursuing?
Good God in heaven, yes.
I believe her hips don't lie.
That's true, Shakira. Yeah. Now, apparently he is very into her. It says Page 6 came out with the story Tuesday claiming insiders are saying Tom is extremely interested in pursuing Shakira after they crossed paths on Sunday at Formula One's Miami Grand Prix. So I think Shakira just needs to run.
Well, in fact, if you've noticed, Shakira made a very big deal about showing up somewhere with a lot of paparazzi on the arm of her boyfriend. And she was like, I think that was her way of saying, no.
Well, TMZ posted about it, and they also shared that image from 2001 of Nicole Kidman walking out of the lawyer's office after she got divorced from him. So anyway. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Crazy news story. Shakira, stay away from Tom Cruise.
The Pat Benatar song, You Better Run, comes to mind. Just play that. All right. One more little break, and then we will reveal the number one thing that made us go wow this week. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And we are back. We've been counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. This week we have now reached number one.
Number one.
Even though Trump had that yucky town hall, he was charged with 9 out of 10 counts. He's a sexual offender. It's official. And to make it even better, the dessert to that meal was that George Santos is in custody for many, many things, including wire fraud. Talk to me.
Well, I was going to say, but the weird thing about it is that he was bailed out, and it was $500,000 bail, I think, is what he was held on, of which usually you only need 10% of that, which would be $50,000, but not for federal. If you're held for federal, you have to pay the whole thing. So somebody put up $500,000 for him, and like Brett Kavanaugh, I want to know who this person is who is backing this liar.
There's all kinds of rich kooks that want to tear our country apart by having these morons in office.
Yeah, but the thing is, he held a press conference afterwards, and of course he was defiant, and he doubled down as Republicans do. And even Kevin McCarthy said that he needed not to run next time.
This guy's bad news. He's a liar. He's cheat. He's not good.
But I think this is the first time we have an Academy Award winner and a Drag Race season 7 winner who has been
arrested.
That's the joke, because he keeps saying he's all these things.
I'm sorry. I think I called him George DeSantos, and it's George Santos. I get them all confused.
I saw that he released his mugshot, and it was a picture of Brad Pitt.
We've tried to be positive instead of politics, but that one's a long time coming. So I'm glad to see there's been some motion. It's hard to believe that real justice will be served, but you gotta hope. Anyway, I hope I see you guys next week. Thank you guys for listening. Fenton will be back. We'll be here on the Wow Report. Until then, please go out and do something that makes the world go wow.
At RuPaul's DragCon.